It's not true. I do like the Mpreg part. That's good.
What's that? God, it was on YouTube forever. There was that video that for some reason was like natural birth in the wild. It was on YouTube and it was a woman giving a birth in the woods.
What?
Yeah,
What?
yeah, no, seriously. It was up there forever before they got taken down. It was one of those. It was the YouTube equivalent of like Bootsy, just sending someone to that video and just natural birth.
Huh.
It's weird. Yeah, so that's the
Wow.
only imagery that comes out of this chapter, because it's an extended metaphor for something that doesn't
Metaphor
matter.
for the human condition.
Sucks.
Is that a pre-Brandon meme?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is. What's up, Bookers? It's your boy, Leopold Bloom here, back again, taking another pass at chapter 14. Oh man, it's just as bad as last time. Let's see, we left off on page 28. Does anyone remember? I think it was 728. 7.
You can say it's 728. You can just say it is.
I mean, describe the last thing that happens. I'll let you know if I remember you talking about it.
Andrew, things don't happen in this chapter.
Oh, right, I forgot.
Yeah.
Like, what are you?
They haven't even started talking about things yet.
Yeah.
You're still setting the scene 20 pages into the chapter.
Yeah,
It's impressive.
We're somewhere around here.
Yeah.
One moment. Need napkins. I'm
Alright,
currently in the middle of eating a sandwich.
So, yeah, we're gonna try to get through this.
I do remember
as
the
much as we
poem.
can.
We did the poem. We might have stopped at 726.
All right, I'll start us off there. Right. Some people listen to podcasts at 1.5x speed, and they should all be in prison. So this will be the first podcast recorded at 1.5x speed because we're getting through this tonight.
It's the Nightcore podcast. If we go all the way through, we'll die. Like someone, I'll die.
Okay,
You'll die.
Such a bad thing.
We'll be free of our mortal presence. All right, let's get into it.
All right, 16th. It's a Thursday, where it's June. Dignam is having an apoplexy, that's fine. He'll get over it because he's dead. Yeah, and this is sort of the elaborate sort of painting a picture of that. Is the graveyard with the rosy buds have all gone brown and spread out blobs, and on the hills not dry but flag and nope, that would catch at first fire. It's very beautiful depiction of a graveyard, and then we just move right along.
Well, it's a little weird that Joyce has brought this back up now
again,
because this chapter is the boys get drunk at the pub and do metaphors for pregnancy.
Yeah.
And so they're like, by the way, remember how that guy's dead?
Yeah.
So
it's
this
probably
is
a profound statement about life and death or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure. This is specific. Andrew, do you remember the parody of the diaries? Did we get to that part?
Not ringing a bell.
Okay, yeah, so that's what this is here. This is a parody of specifically a pair of diarists of the 17th century whose diaries were published and basically were just kind of boring, as diaries usually are.
Nobody else cares that much about your life in most cases.
Yeah.
Most lives are uninteresting. That's why we read fiction.
Yeah. I mean,
also,
this is
Dick moved to publish a guy's
what's
diary.
funny is that like Ulysses is literally just a diary about a fictional man, right?
Of a sort. Ulysses is many things. What those things are remains is an exercise for the reader.
If you have any suggestions, let us know.
Yeah, please Yeah, please email me at bookclub@angelfire.net.
Bring back Angel Fire.
Uh,
Bring back GeoCities.
oh, it was archived.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I know there's NeoCities, but like, it's not the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Well, time travel is impossible, so you will never be a cool '90s teen creating their uh, Backstreet Boys fan page. And Bloom is you know, having thoughts. He's having some Bloom thoughts, but these thoughts are
Meaning
different than
bad
his
ones?
normal Bloom thoughts because these are naughty thoughts.
Oh.
Oh, we did get
Yes.
through this. Yeah, we did get to this part because I remember talking about turkey trunks.
Okay, so
What are
we've been
what,
here before.
Brandon? Pray tell, what's a turkey trunk? What?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's either old timey words for stockings or like garter belts or girders. Um, it's just another.
Hey,
That's what I'm going
Did
for
you
here.
did you Google turkey trunks?
No, I didn't. I'm
Do-
just making shit up.
Do it.
Oh, cool.
Do
'Cause,
it. Go to Google Images. Look up turkey
no,
trunks.
I'm using Bing images. I'm an adult.
I have no idea what Bing's gonna show you, but
Um,
Google Google Images just shows me nothing but swimsuits with turkeys on them.
I've got a couple like wicker like a trunk, as in like a thing you put things in.
Yeah,
made of wicker.
large antique style steamer trunk, comma decorative storage box.
Stuff like that. I've got an actual turkey and its leg, some dinner, like turkey the animal in the trunk of a car.
What?
But
no
turkey
swimsuits.
Again, swim trunks, but with the flag of Turkey printed on it.
Yeah,
And
I
then
got
a
one of
bunch
those. Got one of those.
Yeah.
Do you have the one with the rooster flexing and it says "Stop staring at my cock"?
No. No.
All right, Bing sucks.
No. It's usually just it's either turkey, the animal, some bits of turkey, the country, or then old vests. Just lots of underwear with like turkey prints on it, and I'm like, why? Yeah. So not as fun as I thought. But yeah, still dirty thoughts. So we're past that. We know we're past that.
Yeah, I think we're on 729
Okay, so
Start-
Lenahan
which
has made it
starts
to the
with,
feet of the table.
with Lenahan here.
Yeah.
If we're not, if I actually was left off in like 727, feel free to send me an angry fax, and I will explain the 2 pages that I may have skipped over here. I like the word Hindustanish. What a fun word.
Right. So they're just. The thing is, we need to stress to our readers that what is happening here is that it's late at night and they are drinking, and he's just writing sentences like this. To tell the truth, he was mean in fortunes and for the most part hankered about the coffee houses and low taverns with crimps, ostlers, bookies, Paul's men, runners, flatcaps, waistcoaters, ladies of the bagnio, and other rogues of the game, or with the chanceable catchpole or a tipstaff, often at night till broad day, of whom he picked up between his sack faucets much loose gossip. He took his ordinary at boiling cooks, and if he gotten but into him a mess of broken victuals or a platter of tripes with a bear tester in his purse, he could always bring himself off with his tongue. Some randy quip he had from a punk or whatnot that every mother's son of them would burst to their sides. The other,
So
Costello, that
I
is.
did a quick Google here. A bagnio is an archaic name for a brothel,
Yeah, no,
or an
Or?
Oriental prison. Oriental prison also sounds like it's slang for brothel.
yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, or at least
me and the lads
an
went down to the old Oriental prison.
Yeah, it sounds like slang for like an opium pen or something.
Yeah, oh yeah, there you go.
This would be the time when those were just starting to go out of style, because we realized that heroin was bad, actually.
Yeah. So Lena Han is the roguish type, is the impression I'm getting here. He's
Yeah.
funny guy, quick-witted, no, quick-tongued, some
Yeah,
randy
so
quips.
which again tracks if he's one of Paul's men. Says a lot of shit.
um, yeah. So there's a word in here. Top of page 731.
Mm.
Do not. Do
Yeah.
not. I tried to Google this. And
Donut?
Google was very, very insistent on correcting me to donut, even after I said like no, not donut, do not.
Did you have to break out your Boolean terms?
It didn't help. It's just people misspelling donut. Anyway,
Despite the negative press, do not.
I'm fairly certain that this is not here like nothing. So they're
He's a
calling
do
him
nothing.
they're calling him a do not, like a do nothing. But
A
what's
fail son.
interesting, yeah. But what's interesting is that this doesn't actually seem to be a word or a phrase that like actually got used. After I filtered out all of the misspellings of donut, I just got Ulysses quotes.
It all comes together.
I mean, it's pretty clear, you know, what it means in this context. I just thought it was kind of funny that Joyce just invented. Oh no, did I lose tracking?
The body horror sinks in.
Huh?
James Joyce and Hapax Phenomenon name a more iconic duo.
Sorry, hold on. I have to pause. Poldy Chan is experiencing a Cronenberg movie.
Oh no.
What? Why'd the webcam just stop working? Oh, it's back. All right.
Okay.
I unplugged it and I plugged it back in and it didn't work. So I unplugged it and plugged it back in again and now it works. Cool.
Okay, the pixies are spinning in the right direction?
Yeah. Hamsters have been recalibrated. All right.
Yes.
Um.
Now we're talking about Frank Costello, who isn't Linehan. And Frank is sort of like one of these guys that just sort of bums around and gets jobs, which is described as one time he would be a play actor, then a sutler or a welsher. The knot would keep him from the bear pit in the Cocking, Maine.
What is
He was for the ocean sea, or to hoof it on the road.
Is
with
a
the
bear
Romani
pit
folk.
like just a pit with bears?
Bear pit.
I think it is just a pit where you would fight a bear, or you would watch
it-
something fight a bear.
So, a bear pit was historically used to display bears.
Yeah. Huh?
I guess it was a little more exciting back then to see a bear.
Damn.
Holy shit! It's a fucking bear!
It's just he spends all his free time at the bear zoo.
I assume there was also be some side showmanship around the bears, or it would go full like Shakespearean and be like,
Typically for entertainment and especially bear baiting. What the fuck is bear baiting?
Isn't
think that is
bear
when you fight
baiting
a
where you
bear.
like just make the bears eat other animals?
Is a blood sport involving the worrying or tormenting, baiting, of bears with dogs.
Yeah.
you would have the bear chained to a pole, and then you would put some dogs in it, and then you would pay some money to see who would win, the bear or the dog. The past was great, honestly.
Now we just play Fortnite.
Yeah, we just play, now the only excitement we get is when when a different VTuber says the N-word. Versus watching cockfights or traveling with the Romani, kidnapping a squire's heir by favor of moonlight, or fecking maid's linen, or choking chicken behind a hedge.
So I have that marked in my notes. I don't think choking a chicken means what it means now.
No,
Are you sure?
it means
But
the same thing.
I really want to imagine that
Look,
this man
if
really.
flicking maid's linens means what I think it means, then I'm pretty sure choking the chicken means what I think it means.
This man really out there choking his chicken behind hedges.
Uh,
We're
it's good.
not to spoil the rest of this chapter, but later on,
Weirdly
Bloom is
horny.
gonna just give an absolutely brutal description of Frank Costello.
Does fecking maids linens actually mean what I think it means?
I mean,
I'm
if you're
pretty-
kidnapping
I-
a squire's
so I
heir by
believe
favor of
that-
moonlight,
Fecking means to steal or pilfer.
okay, so he's
I-
stealing like
yeah.
sheets off the dry and like killing other people's chickens and then stealing them to eat.
Yeah, feck is
Uh,
slang for steal. He is not.
Oh.
Well,
He's probably taking women out
it is
behind the hedge.
also
And choking their
She-
chickens.
interestingly enough, chiefly in Ireland.
Mm.
Another way of saying fuck.
Yeah.
But I should point out that using it to mean steal is also Irish slang. So
Yeah.
plausible
the
deniability
pin
is
in
what
that.
I'm hearing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either stealing bed sheets or fucking girls. So
It's fucking
Who
the
knows?
girls' linens, not the girls.
That's what he's using to choke his chicken with.
Yeah, bed sheets.
I mean, my
He's
first
ruining other
interpretation.
people's bed sheets.
Well, my first interpretation of maids' linens was panties.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Put a pin in Irish slang. By the end of this chapter, it will be nothing but Irish slang of contemporary Irish slang, which
Oh,
means we don't
great.
get to put on offensive accents.
I'm looking
boy.
forward to it. So this guy is
These are two new characters. They are not cool dudes. Well,
Uh,
they're very cool, but they're not like
Lenahan's
up and
not
up.
new. We've met him before.
Yeah, but that was like a chapter. It was like several
ways
chapters ago. So
Yeah,
it
they
might
are
as
new
well
to the
have
table
been.
here. Lenahan,
Yeah.
Lenahan was the guy that Bloom bumped into and had like an awkward exchange where Bloom was like just making small talk, but Lenahan thought that he was giving him advice on which horses to bet on the race. So he bet a bunch of money on a horse and then it lost. And he comes back in this chapter complaining about the horse race.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
Which is it's truly horrifying. Like bumping into someone at one time that I'm making awkward small talk, thinking, "Phew, at least I don't have to worry about that anymore." And then they come back later.
Yeah. Oh, it's the worst. So after this description of these characters, they get into this really weird story they start telling.
Yes.
So the annotations don't really help that much to make sense of this because the story doesn't make sense. It's a bunch of drunk guys telling a story where they mix a whole bunch of metaphors and just get generally confused themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll read the story here and see if you can piece together what it means.
All right. So let's get a page number so everyone
So
is
starting
aligned.
at the top of 732, I believe. Yeah, starting at the top of 732. Mr. Is this where it starts? It's so hard to figure this out, but I kept rereading this and I'm like, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna tell a story about a bull.
Yes.
Um,
An Irish bull in an English china shop.
Yeah. Mr. Stephen, a little moved but very handsomely, told him no such matter, and that he had dispatches from the Emperor's chief tail tickler, thanking him for the hospitality, that was sending over Dr. Rinderpest, the best quoted cowcatcher in all Muscovy, with a bolus or two of physic to take the bull by the horns. Come, come, says Mr. Vincent Plain Dealing. He'll find himself on the horns of a dilemma if he meddles with a bull that's Irish, says he. So an Irish bull is slang for a sentence spoken by a fool that makes sense to them and no one else. Typically,
Hello.
these would be presented as a joke in which a stereotypical Irishman is the butt of it. So the example given in the annotations is, "Hey Patty, do you understand French?" To which Patty responds, "Sure do, long as it's spoken in English."
It's the real Joe Miller.
Yeah, you can see why they fell out of fashion. The other one is Patty, upon learning that his friend is studying to be a priest, says, "I hope to one day live to hear you give the rites at my funeral."
That one's less bad. That one's almost funny.
But again, they're not that funny. But anyway, that's an Irish bull is like a joke making fun of Irish people saying dumb things. So when they start talking about an Irish bull, they're hearkening to that joke.
Mm-hmm.
But not really.
Yeah,
Like I said, they're gonna mix a
no.
lot of metaphors here.
Yeah, bull, all involving the word bull in various forms.
Yeah.
As Mr. Vincent across the table says, "And a bullseye into the bargain," says he, "and a plumper and a portlier bull," says he, "never shit on Shamrock. He had horns galore, a coat of cloth of gold, and a sweet, smoky breath coming out of his nostrils, so that the women of our island, leaving dough balls and rolling pins, followed after him, hanging his bulliness in daisy chains."
What for that, says Mr. Dixon. But he came over Farmer Nicholas, that was a eunuch, had him properly gelded by a college of doctors who were no better off than himself. "So be off now," says he, "and do all my cousin German the Lord Harry tells you, and take a farmer's blessing." And with that he slapped his posteriors very soundly. So Lord Harry here is a reference to
Harry Styles.
King Henry the Seventh, King of England, but then also they get Henry the Seventh mixed up with Henry the Eighth a bunch.
Ah, who hasn't? You've all been there.
Mood. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not gonna even try and explain the metaphors here. Because unless you're actually familiar with the history of Kings Henry the Seventh and Eighth, it's not gonna make any sense to you.
No.
And
English monarchical history is actually the least interesting subject in the world.
But needless to say that this is, roughly speaking, a mocking story about the relationship that the kings of England had with the Irish.
Yes.
And
for anyone who isn't aware, the relationship was poor.
It's bad. It was not on the best of terms.
They weren't exactly friends.
What with the subjugation and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they dressed him, says he, in a point shift and petticoat, with a tippet and girdle, and ruffles on his wrists, and clipped his forelock, and rubbed him all over with spermaceti oil, and built stables for him at every turn of the road, with a gold manger, in each full of the best hay in the market, so that he could doss and dung to his heart's content. So spermaceti oil. This is
Hell yeah.
This is the sperm, as in the sperm whale goo. Not semen.
Yeah.
So spermaceti oil was used to make anointing oils that were used during the coronation ceremonies for English monarchy.
Yeah.
They're not just covering him in sperm, unfortunately, which would be fitting for the chapter, alas.
Yeah. Which is again how terrible the English monarchy is. Like, in order to do this, we must kill a whale.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, they literally were just like, all right, what's the most expensive thing that we can buy? Sperm whale sperm. Let's get some of that and just rub it on ourselves. Great.
Yeah.
By the time the father of the faithful was grown so heavy that he could scarce walk to pasture.
It's funny.
To remedy which our cozening dames and damsels brought him his fodder and their apron laps, and as soon as his belly was full, he would rear up on his hind warders. I don't know if if I'm missing a letter, or Joyce is missing a letter, or warders is a thing, but I think this is supposed to be hindquarters.
All mistakes are divinely inspired.
Sure are.
I tell myself that every day. Yeah, and he shows their ladyships a mystery and a roar and bellow out of him in bull's language, and they all after him. Aye, says another, and so pampered was he that he would suffer not to grow in all the land but green grass for himself, for that was the only colour to his mind. And there was a board put up on a hillock in the middle of the island with a printed notice saying, "By the Lord Harry, green is the grass that grows on the ground."
And
And
says Mr. Dixon,
Yeah.
if ever he got scent of a cattle raider in Roscommon, or the wilds of Connemara, or a husbandman in
Husbandman.
Sligo that was sowing as much as a handful of mustard or a bag of rapeseed, out he'd run amuck over half the countryside, rooting up with his horns whatever was planted, and all by Lord Harry's orders. So I'm a little bit confused about the lore here, because first they said that he was so fat that he could barely go out to pasture.
No, I think I think by the Father of the Faithful, I think they're talking about the head of the Church of England.
No,
Yeah, like
they're talking about. I mean, Lord Harry was King Henry was the head of the Church of England.
No, Henry VIII is the one who split the church.
Right. Yeah.
Henry VII.
Which is why, like I said, they've started mixing their metaphors.
Oh no, I've been nerd sniped.
Yeah, because Father of the Faithful was the title of King Henry VIII. So,
I see they're getting their Harrys mixed up.
Yeah,
and
like I said, they've gotten the Harrys mixed up. Anyway, yeah, so first they're saying that he's too fat to go out the pasture, and now they're saying that he can go on a rampage through the countryside.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't you, if a fucking peasant put some mustard on your royal grounds?
But how can...
Feudalism was so fucking cool, guys.
Yeah. There was bad blood between them at first, says Mr. Vincent, and the Lord Harry called Farmer Nicholas all the old Nicks in the world. Hey, Nick, how's it going? And an old whoremaster that kept 7 trolls in his house. And I'll metter in his matters, says he. I'll make that animal smell hell, says he, with the help of that good pizzle my father left me. So,
Pizzle.
You want to take a wild guess what pizzle is?
I already know what pizzle is. It's beef stick.
Yeah, pizzle is just slang for a penis.
If you want to know why, I just so happen to know that.
Yes, pray tell.
You appreciate fine delicacies?
A while back,
This isn't a
I
Mad
don't
Dragon
remember the
story,
context.
is it?
No, it's actually not, surprisingly.
All right.
Someone on Reddit said if something happened, he would literally eat a dick. And for once, OP came through, but was also a faggot.
Of course.
Because he bought a, actual cow dick, which you can apparently just buy at, certain specialty butchers.
Yeah.
Cooked it and ate it.
Yeah.
What a lad.
And he remarked that it's labeled beef pizzle, which he suspected was Snoop Dogg for cow dick.
It does slightly predate
epic Reddit
Snoop Dogg,
moment.
but yeah.
I'm soy facing so hard right now.
It is in fact
Such
a
a Reddit.
Snoopism for penis.
Yeah.
But one evening, says Mr. Dixon, when the Lord Harry was cleaning his royal pelt to go to dinner after winning a boat race, he had spade oars for himself, but the first rule of the course was that the others were to row with pitchforks. He discovered in himself a wonderful likeness to a bull, and on picking up a black-thumbed chapbook that he kept in the pantry, he found, sure enough, that he was a left-handed descendant, left-handed being a euphemism here for, not real descendant, or, the weak bloodline, of the famous champion bull of the Romans, Bos Bovum. This here is Latin for bull of bulls, which is good bog Latin for boss of the show. It's not. It means bull of bulls. After that, says Mr. Vincent, the Lord Harry put his head into a cow's drinking trough in the presence of all his courtiers, and pulling it out again, told them all his new name.
I posted a video if anyone's curious.
I see he's developed insanity, and unless if he has some of the extra DLC installed, he won't be able to do much with it.
So, like I said, the metaphors are getting really mixed here because first Lord Harry was the bull, but now Lord Harry seems to be a man who thinks he's a bull. Um,
Which I don't recall that Henry VII or the Eighth going insane. The only king who I know who thought he was a bull was Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible times. Or it might have been one of his successors. It all gets a bit hairy. Who ignored the literal writing on the wall of the hand of God, and as punishment, he had to go mad and eat grass in a field.
Honestly, I too wish that I could go off and eat grass in a field. Respect to that man. Anyway, Lord Harry here bought a grammar of the bull's language to study, but he could never learn a word of it except the first personal pronoun, which he copied out big and got off by heart. And if ever he went for a walk, he filled his pockets with chalk to write it upon what took his fancy: the side of a rock, or a tea house table, or a bale of cotton, or a cork float.
In short, he and the Bull of Ireland were soon as fast friends as an arse and a shirt.
So I guess
Bazinga.
I can't. Is Lord Harry the Bull of Ireland, or the Bull of England, or the English king who has met the Bull of Ireland? Like the
And what
because they very clearly
Arsenic.
said, right, that Lord Harry is the one that decreed that the grass would grow green and would go on rampages through the countryside. So like, what's going
know.
on with the story?
Who knows? But Mr. Steven wants to talk about pirate ships now. Fuck it. He wants the women who are all of one mind or putting their bundles on the shipboard with their masts erect and running up the Jolly Roger. And they're 3 sheets to the wind, which and spraying their luff.
Masts
And then
erect.
Mr. Vincent of composing boatswain of that rollicking chanty. Oh, Peter's but a piss a bed, a man's a man for a that. Which is a sick burn on, I assume, St. Peter.
Yeah.
I'm not checking. I don't have the annotations.
So
And
that concludes the completely nonsensical story there.
this has been No Moral Theater.
And then Malachi Mulligan shows up.
He just fucking walks in.
Yeah,
Another character to keep track of.
yeah. So
Audience cheers.
Slap face, please.
if you recall, Malachi Kinch Mulligan is one of Stephen Daedalus' friends, roommates. Was there all the way back in chapter 1, hanging out in the Omphalos together, which is what they called the tower. That word's gonna come back again.
Yes.
So Mulligan shows off his brand new pasteboard cards. Pasteboard being a kind of card stock. So he's just got a bunch of business cards printed off.
Oh, sick.
Mr. Malachi Mulligan, fertilizer and incubator, Lamb Bay Island. Lamb Bay Island is a small island off the coast of Ireland.
The end. He's even got a watermark.
That is notable for having lots of birds living on it, according to the annotations. Anyway, he has a fantastic business idea, which he pitches to the boys. His project, as he went on to expound, was to withdraw from the round of idle pleasures, such as form the chief business of Sir Foppling Popinjay and Sir Milksop Quidnunk.
Hold steady.
So,
Steady, lads.
Okay, so this passage is a parody in the style of 18th century comedy and satire. 17th century. 18th century? I forget which one.
It's fine.
Oh yeah. So
Look, it smacks of wenching, so let's go.
uh, and to devote himself to the noblest task for which our bodily organism has been framed. Anyone want to take a wild guess what the noblest task for which our bodily organism has been framed is?
Reproducing?
That's right. It's fucking. Well, let us hear of it, good my friend, said Mr. Dixon. I make no doubt it smacks of a wenching. Come, be seated,
Good.
both. 'Tis as cheap sitting as standing. That line is a quote from a letter, which was published as a collection of letters in 1738. That
Wow.
Joyce has somehow tracked down and was aware of to quote.
Hip-hop producers wish they had cuts as deep as this.
Mr. Mulligan accepted of the invitation and, expatiating upon his design, told his hearers that he had been led into this thought by a consideration of the causes of sterility, both the inhibitory and the prohibitory. That is, people who cannot fuck and people who do not fuck. Whether the inhibition in its turn were due to the conjugal vexations or to a parsimony of the balance, as well as whether the prohibition proceeded from defects congenital or from proclivities acquired. It grieved him plaguily, he said, to see the nuptial couch defrauded of its dearest pledges, and to reflect upon so many agreeable females with rich jointures, a prey to the vilest bonzes, who hide their flambeau under a bushel in an uncongenial cloister, or lose their womanly bloom in the embraces of some unaccountable muskin, when they might multiply the inlets of happiness, sacrificing the inestimable jewel of their sex. When 100 pretty fellows were at hand to caress this, he assured them made his heart weep. A muskin was old-timey slang for pretty face, either a compliment when used to refer to a woman, or an insult when used to refer to a man.
I'm trying
Like
to find it.
saying a guy has a baby face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda.
I'm trying to find the picture of it so I could drop in chat, but this is not necessarily a new idea. At the time of when the original parody was written, there was this idea of these sort of utopian thinkers how to solve the problems of the involuntarily celibate. And one of the ideas was to have a state-run brothel. I'm trying to find the drawn-up plans for it because it's very funny because the state-run brothel, what is going to be in the shape of a penis?
Of course it is.
Because the architecture form should follow the function. So if you're going to make the fuck building, it should look like the things what does the fucking.
Yeah.
And I can't find it, which means we're robbing our audience of the hilarious visual gag of the dick-shaped building.
I'll just draw a dick on the screen if you want me to.
True.
To curb this inconvenient, having advised with a certain counsellors of worth and inspected into this matter, he had resolved to purchase, in fee simple forever the freehold of Lambay Island from its holder, Lord Talbot de Malahide, a Tory gentleman of note much in favor of our ascendancy party. He proposed to set up there a national fertilizing farm to be named Omphalos, with an obelisk hewn and erected after the fashion of Egypt, and to offer his dutiful yeoman services for the fecundation of any female of what grade of life soever who should there direct to him with the desire of fulfilling the functions of her natural. Anyone remember what Omphalos means?
Let's assume for the moment that I don't.
Omphalos means navel. Or, in a more metaphorical sense, the center of something. Center of the world, center of the narrative, so on. Also, obelisks are metaphors for penises.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's putting the
Like,
he's
not
putting
just
he's
like-
putting the
Not just haha shaped like a dick. But, I mean, yeah, but like literally, originally they were like Egyptian monuments to the sun god of fertility, right?
yes.
They very much
never
have
forget.
erected the phalluses.
Never
So his
forget that
business
Lord
plan-
Sobek keeps the sun rising up in the morning by shooting it with his gun.
Money was no object, he said, nor would he take a penny for his pains. So his business plan is that he will purchase an island, and
Yep.
he will just live there. And if
Mhm.
women come to the island, he will have sex with them for free. That-
Ah, of course.
No, you don't have to pay me.
I do this
offer
out of the goodness
as a
of my heart.
service.
The poorest kitchen wench, no less than the opulent lady of fashion, if so be their constructions and their tempers were warm persuaders for their petitions, would find in him their man. For his nutriment he shewed how he would feed himself exclusively upon a diet of savory tubercles, and fish, and conies there, the flesh of these latter prolific rodents being highly recommended for his purpose, both broiled and stewed with a blade of mace and a pod or two of capsicum chilies.
He's gonna eat chili rats,
Yep,
fish, and potatoes
yep,
on what is effectively Little St. James.
fuck Island. I should
Thing
note.
is, I've heard worse retirement plans.
I should note also that what's the phrase
this is
they
what happens
use
in the
here?
villages.
Where is
Like,
it?
fuck, man, I'd build Fuck Island.
National Fertilizing Farm. So National Fertilizing Farm refers to the plan for a state-run eugenics program
Hell yeah.
Oh boy.
where this is the less bad kind of eugenics, where you
Well,
Before
where
just
you just have lots of sex
you
Well,
just
this was
you
instead of chemically
recruit-
sterilizing the Jews.
Yeah, instead of sterilizing the Jews and the gypsies, you get all of the smartest, strongest, prettiest people, and you just make them fuck.
Oh, it's white genocide. This is to solve white genocide. Okay.
So, this was a plan that was kicking around in the late 19th century, early
Yes.
20th century.
Yep. Now that tracks.
They dropped it pretty quickly because the problem that they ran into is that even
Couldn't
if
keep it
your
up in the morning.
goal is to pick the so the plan was, all right, we find the smart people, we
Yeah.
find the strong
You
people,
measure their skulls.
we find the handsome people, we just invite them to come hook up and have a baby. The problem is, it's really hard to figure out the people that are how do I put, they couldn't actually figure out who
yeah.
was like genetically
master race.
superior
Yeah.
and who was
It was
just
hot.
who was just more attractive because they were born into wealth and thus never had to do hard labor out in the sun. So after the first
class characteristics
the first
reveal
few
themselves.
case studies in this, they're like, yeah, we're not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And they kind of gave up.
And yet the bell curve was published in 1995. Because bad ideas never die; they just get resold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we must leave Fuck Island.
shame.
Because we have
Goodbye,
to carry
Fuck
coals to
Island.
Newcastle, and Mr. Mulligan needs to quote some Latin.
This is
At us.
fun Latin. I like this Latin. Yeah, Brandon, you want to read this here while I
Yes.
dig up the annotations?
Yeah, I'll do my. I remember how to pronounce my Latin. Talis actanta depravatio hujus seculi o purites ut masterfellerarum nostrae lascivias cuius dilibert semivari libici titillationes tibus ponderosis attaque excelsius erectionibus centurium romanorum magnapore anteponunt.
So the translation of this in English is,
Yeah.
of such a kind and so great is the depravity of our generation, O citizens, that our matrons much prefer the lascivious titillations of Gallic half-men to the weighty testicles and extraordinary erections of the Roman centurion. So this is a lament by the Romans that the women prefer to have sex with the Gallics than the noble Roman centurion with their weighty testicles and extraordinary erections.
So funny. And then, yeah, and then fortunately Joyce does explain us a little bit. He does throw us a bone if you don't want to go look up your Latin by saying he follows us up with analogies of the animal kingdom, such as the buck and the doe of the forest or the farmyard drake and duck.
More suitable to their stomach.
Yeah. All right. We were sort of still going about this.
Now, that concludes Fuck Island.
Yes.
And now we get into the Mpreg segment.
Oh boy.
So Mr. Mulligan,
Mhm.
Mr. Mulligan
He's perceiving
here
the table.
is like, hey, whose fish are these? Also, are you in any need of professional assistance? To which Mr. Dixon, asks whether his incipient ventripotence, upon which he rallied him, betokened an ovoblastic gestation in the prostatic utricle, or male womb, was due, as with the noted physician, Mr. Austin Meldon, to a wolf in the stomach. So let me,
Is he accusing his male friend here of being on his period?
no, even better. Let me pick this apart here.
Is that
So-
not what ovoblastic gestation means?
Nope.
What
Ventripotence
does that mean?
means having a big ol' stomach.
Okay.
Ovoblastic gestation just means to gestate an embryo.
Oh, okay.
Prostatic utricle is literally the inside of the prostate.
Right.
So he is asking him if his large stomach is due to him having a baby growing in his prostate.
The
Fellas.
yowie hole.
Yeah, but the joke here, other than haha male pregnancy, is that he's done this in very
Fancy words.
very
Hey,
fancy
bro, you just
medical
fat?
terminology.
Are you pregnant?
Yeah.
Epic burn.
To which Mr. Mulligan slaps himself on the belly and exclaims, "There's a belly that never bore a bastard," which is so funny that everyone laughs. It throws the whole room into the most violent agitations of delight.
Yep. A storm of mirth. and then for some larum in the antechamber as well. And then
That
we have
concludes
the
the
Mpreg episode.
the Mpreg segment.
Oh, that's
that'll,
it.
Yeah, that'll show up in a weird YouTube video that's 35 minutes long. It says that says darkest episode ever. It'll get 1.2 million views and be unwatchable.
Thank God. We now begin a passage in the style of Mr. Lawrence Terne's Sentimental Journey Through France and Italy, published 1768. Yeah, this one really threw me for a loop, because I had no idea who the fuck was talking, or who he's talking to, or what's going on.
Yeah.
Here the listener, who was none other than the Scotch student. Oh wait, hang on. I have in my notes here. Give me 1 second. I believe that they describe in the diary bit. One of them. Scots fellow. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a style of a travelogue novel, which was a little more popular in before the age of television. You had to read books about guys listening to other people go on vacation.
Terrible.
Terrifying.
Anyway, here the listener was none other than the Scotch student, which I think is Lynch, Vincent Lynch. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
A little fume of a fellow, blonde as tow, congratulated in the liveliest fashion with the young gentleman, and interrupting the narrative at a salient point, having desired his vis-a-vis with a polite beck to have the obligingness
Nailed it.
That's the word. To pass him a flagon of cordial waters, at the same time, by a questioning poise of the head, to which was united an equivalent but contrary balance of the bottle, asked the narrator, as plainly as was ever done in words, if he might treat him with a cup of it. This dude then speaks some fucking French for some reason.
Why would anyone?
As was the style in the travel log.
Moi bien sûr.
Yeah, so
Nobel
there's
stranger.
kind of just this
Yeah.
dialogue that starts off with nonsense,
Yeah.
and then it gets into a whole bunch of euphemisms for contraception, which is kind
Oh
of funny.
yeah, it is. Which it's the early 20th century. Contraceptives are crossing your fingers, eating a tree, but of only a specific tree.
Intestine condoms were a thing.
but
Yeah,
not
but you have to,
in Ireland, where they were
No,
forbidden
because
by law.
yeah. Well, they had to take it out. Well, the problem they had there is they had to take it. They forgot to take it out of the goat first.
That's a really good one.
So
And
remember, right? England is
the
Now,
worst place,
Protestant.
the worst country,
Yes, but
absolutely miserable. You need a
But-
license to buy an airsoft gun there.
they were Protestant, so they were not quite as beholden to the Catholic Church as the Irish were. So, while Ireland still banned contraceptives of all forms, England did not. So you could get your condoms mail order from England.
Just open up the
Smuggled in.
Sears catalog, getting a box of Magnums.
Yep.
Yeah, fortunately, Ireland has made progress since then. They just they decriminalized homosexuality a few years ago.
Good on them.
It's still illegal to be married.
Alex,
But,
monster condoms for my Gaelic dog.
But indeed, sir, I wander from the point. How mingled and imperfect are all our sublunary joys. Maledicity, he exclaimed in anguish. Would to God that Foresight had but remembered me to take my cloak along. Cloak here being a fairly obvious euphemism for condom. I could weep to think of it. Then, though it had poured 7 showers, we were neither of us a penny the worse. But beshrew me, he cried, clapping hand to his forehead. Tomorrow will be a new day, and 1,000 thunders. I know of a marchand de capotes, that is to say, a cloak merchant. Monsieur Points, from whom I can have for a liver as snug a cloak of the French fashion as ever kept a lady from wedding. Tut tut, cries le fécondateur, which is just French for the impregnator. Tripping in, my friend Monsieur Moore, that the most accomplished traveler is my authority, that in Cape Horn they have a rain that will wet through any, even the stoutest cloak. They're talking about sex here.
Yes.
They're talking about busting a nut so fat that it just goes right through your condom.
Yeah.
A drenching
Or,
of that
or-
violence, he
yeah.
tells me, has sent more than one luckless fellow in good earnest post haste to another world. Pooh!
When you nut so hard, you just fucking die.
Eliver, cries Monsieur Lynch. The clumsy things are dear at a sou.
Alex, pronounce monsieur.
Monsieur. I don't
Alright,
fucking know,
fine.
dude. I'm not French.
Moi, sir.
But it's got an N.
Yeah, and that don't mean shit.
Monsieur.
Monsieur.
Not monsieur.
Yeah.
There's no H.
Yeah. The French speak with their mouths closed.
God, I wish that were true. One umbrella, were it no bigger than a fairy mushroom, is worth 10 such stopgaps. No woman of any wit would wear one. An umbrella here is euphemism for a diaphragm.
Oh god, yeah, those are a nightmare.
That is the other kind of what do they call it?
the female condom.
Oh yeah, no, but what's the word for contraceptives that just block the nut?
Sexual
Diaphragm.
barrier device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Actually, I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
Yeah, because this is way before IUDs.
Yeah.
Which work, folks. They work.
Yeah, no, you just
Um,
kind of just took some material and you just stuck it somewhere in there and hoped for the best. My dear Kitty
Yeah.
told me
Plug
today
it up
that she
with
would
some cotton.
dance in a deluge before she would ever starve in such an ark of salvation. For, as she reminded me, Dame Nature, by the divine blessing, has implanted it in our hearts, and it has become a household word that...
Il y a deux choses.
Eh,
There you go.
I think
You're
that
welcome.
means there are two choices.
Yeah.
For which the innocence... Oh, there are two options. For which the innocence of our original garb is the fittest, nay, the only garment. The first, she said, the first is a bath. The second is left as an exercise for the reader.
Yeah.
But at this point, a bell tinkling in the hall cut short a discourse, which promised so bravely for the enrichment of our store of knowledge.
Well, not the discourse.
Oh, not the discourse.
The discourse must flow.
So then Callahan shows up. Just meeting another guy.
Yes, for the presence even for a moment among a party of debauchees of a woman. Endued with every quality of modesty and not less severe than beautiful refrained the humorous sallies, even of the most licentious. But her departure was the signal for an outbreak of ribaldry. Okay, lads.
Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. I
Maybe
do
a
like the
woman just
name
left
here,
the room.
Dr. O'Gargle.
That is absolutely the name of like a patent medicine that was like just like a mixture of like heroin and gasoline.
Dr. O'Gargle's contraceptive
Miracle
and
serum?
mouthwash.
Yeah.
Miracle
Like,
serum.
Yeah.
Like snake oil was actually just wintergreen, mint, and like gasoline.
Yeah, because you couldn't actually get oil from a snake. That was too hard.
I mean,
Yes.
some, but snakes are rather lean.
Yeah, you can't milk a snake.
Well,
Not in that. Yes, you can milk a snake, but not in the sense that some people desperately want to.
tiny udders. Anyway, the
Hang on.
annotations say that the context around Mr. Dr. O'Gargle is unknown.
We've been trying for 100 years. We know what we're talking about. It's honestly like some of these conversations are like if someone just like printed out random texts from the IAA and just strung it together. If you presented this to a literary professor and be like, "All right, here you go," they would actually go insane.
Locks of mercy, doctor, cried the young blood in the primrose vest, feigning a womanish simper. With the immodest squirmings of his body, how you do tease a body. Drat the man. Bless me, I'm all of a wibbly-wobbly. Why, you are as bad as dear little father can't a kiss 'em, that you are. May this pot of four half choke me, cried Costello, if she ain't in the family way. Yeah, I got no fucking idea what this guy's talking about.
I think he's been turned on by all the talks of doing
Mpreg?
the nasty. Yeah, Mpreg. Yeah, Costello's
Something's
horny on
awoken.
Maine.
Something's
Uh-oh.
awoken in him.
Yeah, so
He's
we just get some more weird, hard to follow dialogue here.
he forgot to post this to his AD account.
Let me get up to
There was a lady who was enceinte, who was born with a laudable fortitude, and she had given birth to a bouncing boy.
wow, a
I
bouncing
think-
boy.
A bouncing boy. And I think, are we getting to the point where God, we are so close to where like a thing happens.
Are we?
Don't. We're very. I think we're about a few pages to reverting to Leopold Bloom, and he will tell a very bad story about going to the hospital.
We do get to see some more Bloom. Yeah. There's
We have to get through the bywords and Miss Callan, who is the luster of her own sex and the astonishment of ours.
what does that
And at an instant, the most momentous that can befall a puny child of clay.
What does that mean?
Who knows?
And we don't have to figure it out because here comes Bloom.
Yes, to revert to Mr. Bloom, who after his first entry had been conscious of some impudent mocks which he had, however, had borne with as being the fruits of that age upon which it is commonly charged that it knows not pity.
So
The young
while
Sparks...
Bloom was like off camera, he was getting roasted by the boys.
Yeah.
We don't get to hear it, but it happened.
Yeah.
Trust us, it was funny.
He had to have been there.
All of my friends are just out of frame laughing too. The young Sparks, it is true, were as full of extravagancies as overgrown children. The words of their tumultuary discussions were difficultly understood and not often nice.
Welcome back.
He's just using colons now instead of punctuation.
He really does
Their
just
testiness
straight up
and
admit to being difficult to understand.
Knots that his intellects resiled from, nor they scrupulously sensible of the prophecies that their fund of strong animal spirits spoke in their behalf.
I'm just imagining
You need some strong spirits for this book.
Oh, sure.
I'm just imagining Mr. Joyce just typing away his typewriter, and he was like, "Hey, what's this key above the period button?" And just like, "Oh, it's like a double period. That's gotta be like twice as good."
Oh yeah, so this part is written in the style of the oratories of Edmund Burke, an Irish political philosopher, political philosopher and philosophical politician of the 18th century.
Mm-hmm.
Two different things?
I assume like a philosopher of political science and also a politician.
He was a politician and a philosopher.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
It means he even got less than nothing done.
He was apparently known for giving some good speeches.
Well, good for him.
Good for him. Anyway, Bloom just absolutely savages poor Mr. Costello. But the word of Mr. Costello was an unwelcome language. This amuses me because the language of Mr. Costello was French. Yeah, he was speaking in French during his bit. For he nauseated the wretch that seemed to him a crop-eared creature of misshapen gibbosity, born out of wedlock, and thrust like a crook-back toothed and feet first into the world, which the dint of the surgeon's pliers in his skull lent indeed a color too, so as to put him in thought of that missing link of creation's chain, desiderated by the late ingenious Mr. Darwin.
Called him a Neanderthal.
This man's the missing link. It was now.
What an insult.
It was now for more than the middle span of our allotted years that he had passed through the 1,000 vicissitudes of existence, and being of a wary ascendancy and self a man of rare forecast, he had enjoined his heart to repress all motions of a rising choler, and by intercepting them with the readiest precaution, foster within his breast the plenitude of sufferance, which base minds jeer at, rash judgers scorn, and all find tolerable and but tolerable. Yeah, it's whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. To those who create themselves wits at the cost of feminine delicacy, to them he would concede neither to bear the name nor to herit the tradition of a proper breeding. For while such that, having lost all forbearance, can lose no more, there remained the sharp antidote of experience, to cause their insolency to beat a precipitate and inglorious retreat.
I think what he's getting at, he's calling Costello such an edgy shitlord that he'll never get laid.
Yeah, probably, on account of he is a Cro-Magnon, with a dent in his skull from the surgeon's pliers.
Yeah. That did happen a lot back then.
He looks like a homunculus.
Oh, look at that. James Joyce invented telling somebody to log off.
So what's so funny about this to me is that, like, there was nothing before now to suggest anything bad of Mr. Costello other than that he spoke French. So So
Is that not enough?
it's just,
You
well,
know what?
it's not
Nick's
even
got a
that-
point.
So
Nick's got a point.
Bloom is not making fun of him for speaking French. He's making fun of him for being a crop-eared, misshapen gibbous, born out of wedlock. And so
ugly bastard.
so resembling Mr. Darwin's missing link. Like, why? Why you gotta do him like that? What the
Look, I'm
fuck did he do to you?
I'm proud for Leopold for finally standing up for himself in the tiniest way.
He's not even standing up for himself. He's just thinking to himself, "Man, that guy's so fucking ugly."
Yeah, well, compared to all other Bloom thoughts, which have been inherently submissive.
No, not. I wish that I could kiss a nun. That one
Yeah,
wasn't
well.
submissive.
Yeah, but like to another person.
Yes.
He's thinking so hard about what he would say to him if he could.
Which is funny, right? Because they've all been roasting each other, right?
Yes.
The guy was literally like, "Hey, are you fat because you're pregnant?" You know? So Bloom totally could have busted out the banter with the lads, right? And just been
Yep.
like, "Are you Darwin's missing link?" And everyone would have laughed. But he doesn't. He doesn't say it.
No.
He just thinks it because
Mhm.
he's Bloom. And that's just how he is.
Yes. And we are all stuck together in Bloom's head.
Yep. We are trapped. Please let me out.
Right. First, if you have to get past the dressy young Blades, who said it was her husband that put her in that exception, or at least it ought, unless it should be another Ephesian matron. And I must acquaint you, said Mr. Crothers, clapping on the table so as to evoke a resonant comment of emphasis. Old Glory Alalurum was a gown today. An elderly man with Dundrearies, preferring through his nose a request to have a word of Wilhelmia. Okay. Another guy has popped in. He's like, "Guy talked to me today," and we just sort of keep going. And that the young Blade has held with him his former view, and that another than her conjugal had been the man in the gap. Hey, readers. A clerk in orders, a link boy, a virtuous, or an itinerant vendor of articles needed in every household. I think a guy's just going off here about whether or not his wife's faithful. Because we get back
Yeah,
to the metempsychosis and the puerperal dormitories and the dissecting theaters and the seminaries of such frivolity. That the mere acquisition of academic titles should suffice to transform, in a pinch of time, those votaries of levity into exemplary practitioners of an art which most men, anywise eminent, have esteemed the noblest. But
What page are you
you
on right
further
now?
ahead. I'm on 749. I'm trying to speed through here.
Yeah.
What drugs are you on?
All of them.
I wanna
not
go back
enough.
a bit here. At the top of page 749,
Yeah.
they make a mention to the Ephesian matron.
Yeah.
So the Ephesian matron is an archetypical character from Greek stories, who is a widow from Ephesus, which is a Greek city, whose, quoting from the annotations here, intensity of mourning is matched only by the alacrity in which she accepts the advances of a handsome new suitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the story goes here. I cannot but extol the virile potency of the old bucko that could still knock another child out of her. All fell to praising of it.
Lads.
So all like, yeah, good job on the old guy. And someone, the young Blade, I have no idea what they mean by Blade in this context. Same young Blade held with his former view that another than her conjugal had been the man in the gap. That is to say, the one who stuck it in her was someone other than her husband. And
horror.
suggests a clerk, a link boy, virtuous, or an itinerant vendor of articles needed in every household. So it was either a clerk, a door-to-door salesman, or a link boy, which was a kid that you would give a couple pennies to, and he would follow you around at night holding a torch on the dark streets. I also, when I googled this, I gotta fucking show you guys this shit. The most
boy.
fantastic picture of a link boy. let me drag this onto the stream here. Damn it. Hang on. Give me the fucking picture.
Give him the pixels. Come on.
Give me the pixels.
Has to hand it over 1, 1, and 0 at a time.
The picture's file name is too long to save. Alright, here we go. Alright. Take a gander at this fucking thing. It just comes up. If you Google link boy, you get this fucking guy.
Why does he have 2 left feet? Or no, those are right feet. Those are 2 right feet.
Is it?
Does that mean he killed Polnareff's sister?
That looks like that looks like a big toe on the right side there and a big toe on the left side there.
Oh, okay. It's sort of weird with the arch on the... What is that, the left or right? The left.
I don't... But just...
His left foot has a weird
Perspective.
inside arch.
Perspective needs some work.
Look at that face.
That is a good face.
The pose of the hands.
That's the face of that like woozy emoji, right?
The what? Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Get a nice crop of this here. There we go. Shrink this bad boy down, stick him in the corner. There we go. Beautiful. Hang on, I'm gonna attempt to do some radical photo manipulation. Filters. Add filter. Chroma key. Color. Custom.
This is incredible. We're breaking new ground in the field of podcasting.
Oh, he's gone. I've chroma keyed out the entire man. Why did it do that? What the fuck? What? Wait. What? Give me my man back. What? I just wanted to get rid of the white bits. You got rid of the black parts too. Why?
Society.
Huh? All right. I don't understand anything. Darn. No, that didn't work. All right.
All right, we need to get going. We got to talk about the war.
All right. So, yeah, this is basically as far as I was able to read.
Yes.
So there's a bit more here. They mention metempsychosis once again. Anyone remember what that means?
Nope.
No? Come on! It comes up like every other chapter.
No, it doesn't.
It sure does. All right,
This
it's come
will be
up
on
like
the
3
test.
times throughout the book. This is going to be on the final. Metempsychosis is Greek for reincarnation. I don't know why or why they keep bringing it up, but it is. And then there's a fun phrase they use here. Where is it? Pearl. Oh. Wait, what? Did I spell it wrong? Pure purple. Huh?
Pure purple.
How do you guys think that word's pronounced?
Which word? Pu
Purple. Purple.
E-R. Puer pearl.
Pure pearl. Pure pearl. Anyway, this refers pure
Forbidden
pearl.
purple.
Refers to the period of time after which a woman has given birth, but before her reproductive organs have returned to their original pre-birth state.
According to Google pronunciation, it's pure pearl.
Pure pearl. Pure. Anyway, I don't know what pure pearl dormitory means unless it just means like the
Where you're
place
staying just right after
the
birth.
place you hang out for the first month or so after birth. I don't know, maybe.
It might even be another way of a really sideways way of saying maternity ward.
I'm
Maybe.
guessing.
Because using words that
Well, if
normal
you use
people
words
is
that
below
people
this.
know, it takes all the fun out of
Yeah.
it.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
And then we just sort of end on that with birds of a feather laughing together, and I'm like, that's a weird Hallmark way of ending this bizarre passage. And then we start off in another one.
Yeah, this is as far as I read. So,
Yeah.
Brandon, we're gonna be dependent on you to
Yes.
get us through this here.
How much more do we have till the end of the chapter?
37 pages.
Really?
We're gonna try and knock it all out.
Yeah.
In
Fortunately,
40
like,
minutes.
no new themes develop
Thank
in the
God.
last 30 pages. Just more iterations on what we've already been. More pregnancy talk, more sex talk, more obscure and literary references and allusions, which means we get to speed through it and only get to highlight the fun words.
Opprobrium. Harsh criticism or censure.
Yes.
Has he not nearer home a seed field that lies fallow for the want of the plowshare? A habit reprehensible at puberty is second nature, and an opprobrium in middle life. This is in the middle of page 751 here.
Yes.
That kind of sounds like
Sex thing.
a sex thing.
Yeah. Like I did like a little earlier up when it says, "Nay, had the hussy's scoring brush not been her tutelary angel, it had gone with her as hard as with Hagar the Egyptian."
What does that mean?
I don't know.
No,
I didn't look
it
at the
just sounds
annotations.
nice. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, sure. I didn't look at the annotations. I just looked at the text and see if it would awaken anything in my in the couple of brain cells I've got left.
Did it awaken anything?
I
Get a
assume he's
little
just.
bit of
I
a
assume
half
he's just
chub
mad.
going.
I assume he's just mad, or their speaker's mad that that the lady he was after is. I don't know.
I'm gonna see if I can find anything about. Here we go. Hagar the Egyptian.
It's like Hagar the Horrible, the hilarious comic
In
strip.
Genesis 16, Abraham and his wife Sarah are childless because Sarah is barren. Sarah
Right.
therefore tells
Useless.
Abraham to go in unto my maid, Hagar the Egyptian. Hagar conceives and consequently despises her mistress, whereupon Sarah dealt hardly with her, and Hagar fled from her face. An angel of the Lord intervenes to restore order, and Hagar gives birth to Ishmael in Abraham's house. Okay.
Right.
So it's, yeah.
He's mad that cheating has happened.
Yeah.
Though I assume this will not cause a titanic rift 100 years later, splitting the houses and the tribes, causing a great crisis.
Never.
Right, because we need to get back to because this habit is reprehensible at puberty, is second nature, and opprobrium in middle life. If he must dispense his balm of Gilead and nostrums and apothegms of dubious taste to restore to health a generation of unfledged profligates, let his practice consist better with the doctrines that now engross him. Force. His marital breast is the repository of secrets which decorum is reluctant to adduce. The lewd suggestions of
it
some
all makes
faded
so much
beauty
sense.
may console him for consort neglected and debauched. But this new experiment of morals and healer of ills that is best an exotic tree, which when rooted in its native orient, throve and flourished, and was abundant in balm, but transplanted to a clime more temperate, its roots have lost their quondam vigor, while the stuff that comes away from it is stagnant, acid, and inoperative.
What are they talking about?
Trees, I guess.
Why are we talking about trees?
Adultery is fun, but then when you keep doing it, inevitably ends poorly.
Sure,
Oh.
let's go with
meaning
that.
one that came to my mind, or meaning two is that this is about masturbation,
I think
and
it's
if
about
you're not
masturbation.
satisfying yourself, that satisfying yourself out in any sexual way outside of marriage may seem cool and fun and exotic, but after a while you'll just end up feeling sad and like empty, and then presumably maybe like you'll become sterile, which again was another one of the many myths.
Yeah, because once you run out of nut, it never comes
Yeah,
back.
as we all
It doesn't refill.
fixed amount of nuts. You gotta go down to the store and refill your nut cartridges and gotta screw them in. Right. And it just sort of keeps going about this, and after we get all this flowery prose, we get a long flowery paragraph describing about how what the guy said in the previous paragraph was long and flowery. Silent and unanimous exhaustion and approbation of the delegates, chafing under the length and solemnity of their vigil, and hoping that the joyful occurrence would palliate a license which the simultaneous absence of Abigail and obstetrician rendered the easier, broke out at once into a strife of tongues.
What page are you on?
Fucking lord.
752. Yeah, the boys are getting sick and tired of the shit and like want to move on, and just hoping that somebody comes along and just moves things forward.
In vain, the voice of Mr. Canvasser Bloom was heard, endeavoring to urge, to mollify, to refrain. Yeah.
Yes.
Mood.
Yeah. Every phrase of the
Prenatal
situation was
repugnance
successfully
of uterine
eviscerated.
brothers.
Yes. Yeah. The fratres. Yeah. Now they're talking about child murder, and I think we're gonna get some stuff about abortion and artificial insemination. You know, about the dangers of being in labor for a long time. That there's all these weird ways to like get around having wife problems and baby problems, and they talk about primogeniture, which is fine. I prefer ultimogeniture.
All right, so the prenatal repugnance of uterine brothers comes from the superstition that if you had siblings of the same mother but different fathers, that they wouldn't get along.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, step families are hard to get along with. Can be. You just got to put the work in.
It's. I feel like that's less a superstition and more that just like if you've grown up in a broken home, you're gonna be maladjusted and probably not get along well with your siblings.
Yeah, but this is the before times. They didn't think about stuff like assume something was inherently defective with the child.
It must. Yeah.
Child machine defective. I would like to return this one to the baby factory. Maybe swap out a few spleens. You know, and there's constant peril of sepsis to the matrix. Artificial insemination by means of syringes, involution of the womb consequent upon the menopause. And that's how it refers to. The problem of the perpetration of the species in the case of females impregnated by delinquent rape. A distressing manner of delivery called by the Brandenburg. Sturzgebet. Yep. Sturzgebet. I assume that's some sort of German thing. The recorded instance of multi-seminal, quick-kindled, and monstrous births conceived during the catamenic period, or of the consanguineous parents, in a world all the cases of human nativity within Aristotle has classified in his masterpiece with chromolithographic illustrations. Of course.
So
Right, the chromolithographic illustration.
Sturzgeburt is German for sudden birth. That is to say, just all of a sudden just giving birth without the normal
Okay.
like lead up to
Premature.
later and all that.
Preemie. Okay, so they're talking about premature birth, which is again, it's still a tough thing, but because these are four lads who have been drinking for a while, they're not exactly handling the delicacies of maternal and postpartum care with subtlety and finesse. Because now they're just going to start arguing about stuff that happens around babies. The gravest problems of obstetrics and forensic medicine were examined with as much animation as the most popular beliefs on the state of pregnancy, such as the forbidding to a gravid woman to step over a country stile, lest by her movement the navel cord should strangle her creature, and the injunction upon her in the event of a yearning.
In the event of a yearning?
Event of a yearning.
Remember,
Ardently and
remember,
ineffectually
ladies, if you
entertained.
yearn, the navel cord will strangle your baby.
The creature.
Does yearn mean something else in this context?
I assume so. And then this will cause castigations and abnormalities of hair lips, breast knolls, supernumerary digits, Negro's inkle.
What is
Strawberry-
Negro's inkle? What's an inkle?
A strawberry mark and port twine
Inkle.
stain were alleged by one as a prima facie, a natural hypothetical explanation of those swine-headed or dog-haired infants occasionally born. Yeah, they're just talking about birth defects now, about how it's if women do things while they're pregnant, it just makes bad babies.
Alright, I googled
Um,
Negro's inkle. The
I'm
only
so
thing
sorry.
it comes up with is quotes from Ulysses.
Is it supposed to be Negro's ankle?
Is it?
Oh, no, I'm trying to think.
I mean,
'cause
that would make
but
a
I and
little
A are
bit
not
more
next to the-
sense, but like, that. I googled
Well, they
that.
gotta-
I'm not really getting anything.
Yeah, it's racism that's so outdated and weird. No one understands what it is anymore. I assume strawberry mark are just like weird birthmarks.
Yeah, I'm
or
assuming
maybe
they're talking about various birthmarks.
skin diseases, psoriasis.
I think strawberry marks is when you got like a pink spot on you.
This happens sometimes. Right. So now we get onto the hypothesis of plasmic memory, advanced by the Caledonian envoy. Caledonia is what Scotland was called in the before times. We're back to our Scotch student. And the worthy of the metaphysical traditions of the land he stood for, envisioned in such cases an arrest of embryonic development at some stage antecedent to the human. Of course, we all carry before us in the womb juice that's primordial. Actually,
Yeah.
primordial ooze in there.
Yup.
And if you
I'm
hang
pretty
out,
sure-
it's actually a portal to Dimension X where the Krang live.
I'm pretty sure that's actually just a Evangelion reference.
Yeah, it is.
Of course. We all return to the Kool-Aid.
Indeed.
And
The
let me
Tang.
the Tang. I do like how it was called the Tang in NGE, despite the fact that it's fucking red and Tang is orange.
It is orange.
Yeah, it is orange and NG.
They recolored it to red in the newer versions.
Fuck.
They
What?
changed. I don't know.
Digitally remastered.
They redusted the color time, so it's more reddish now. And now we've got an outlandish delegate sustained against both these. Somebody's pushing out against both of these ideas that women who yearn produce bad babies, or it's because of metaphysical entities. As instead carried his conviction, the theory of copulation between women and the males of brutes. As we all know, his authority being his own avouchement in the support of fables such as that is the Minotaur, which the genius of the elegant Latin poet has handed down to us in the pages of his Metamorphoses. So
You
now we know
can't
bad
cite
babies
the
come
Minotaur
from.
as evidence of anything.
You can check the labyrinth. There's nothing there. Right. And the impression made by his words was immediate but short-lived. So this guy's dismissed out of hand for bringing up the Minotaur, which I agree here. As the candidates again are arguing, and now they're delegates and candidates, because now this is very serious discussion of a bunch of men talking about women. women's bodies in a way that is insane. And then we talk about the jurisdictional and theological dilemmas created in the event of a Siamese twin preceding another. And then and then Daedalus is silent, and then Daedalus might begin to talk soon.
The difficulty by mutual consent was referred to Canvasser Bloom for instant submittal to coadjutor Deacon Douglas. Does mutual consent mean the difficulty of getting two people to agree to have sex?
No, I think in like a coalition context,
Political
agreement.
The seconding of the motions.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You guys know your Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes.
Nope.
You don't?
They're a whole bunch of bullshit, is what they are.
That's all I know about Robert's Rules of Order. Yeah.
And that joke doesn't make sense because they don't do that in Europe. And then now Malachias' tale has begun to freeze them toward them. He has conjured up a scene before them. The secret panel besides the chimney has slid back, and in the recess appeared Haynes. Which of us did not feel his flesh creep? He had a portfolio full of Celtic literature in one hand, and in the other a phial marked poison.
Oh.
So are they just? They're
Haynes
just
has
telling
walked in and
spooky
they're fucking
stories now,
pissed.
or
No,
they're telling
Haynes walked in, the English student, and they're like, "God damn it, the English student is here."
they're telling
And
a normal
surprise.
story in the style of a horror story.
Surprise, horror, loathing were depicted on all faces while he eyed them with a ghastly grin. I anticipated some reception. He began with an eldritch laugh, for which it seems history is to blame. Yet, yes, it is true, I am the murderer of Samuel Child, and how I am punished! The Inferno has no terrors for me. This is the appearances on me, towering ages. What way would I be resting at all? He muttered thickly. And I tramping Dublin this while back with my share of songs, and himself after me like a Soph or a Bullahurus. My hell in Ireland is in this life.
Okay, so this passage here is,
So
if
good.
you can't
I'm
tell,
having fun.
in the style of a Gothic novel.
Yeah.
In
What gave it
particular,
away?
The Castle of Otranto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, why does that ring a bell? Why does
Probably
that ring
because
a
it was
bell?
a somewhat well-known Gothic novel.
Yeah. It's considered the first Gothic novel. Okay, that's why Joyce is flexing on us with it. Yeah. If you're not, yeah. So any minute now, we'll be asking for a cask of Amontillado. Distractions: rook shooting, the Erse language, laudanum. Oh God. He's gonna get fucked up. Camping out in vain, his specter stalks me. Dope is my only hope. Destruction, the Black Panther. All right. With a cry, he suddenly vanished, and the panel slid back. An instant later, his head appeared in the door opposite and said, "Meet me at Westland Row Station at 11:10." He was gone. Tears
so
gushed
fucking
from the
absurd.
eyes of the dissipated host. The seer raised his hand to the heaven, murmuring, "The vendetta of Mananon." The sage repeated, "Lex Talionis." The sentimentalist is he who would enjoy without incurring the immense debtorship for a thing done. Malachias, overcome by emotion, ceased.
This is the first time that it's
We're having
like
fun.
actually
We're having
switched to
fun.
like a dramatically and like radically
Yes.
out of place tone, rather than just like boring lame-o prose.
Yeah.
Joyce is finally
liturgical.
having some fun with it here.
Yes, he's not referencing 14th century morality. Yes. Haynes was the third brother. His real name was Childs. Spider pitches her web in the solitude. The nocturnal rat appears from his hole. A curse is on it. It is haunted. Moon's haunted. And then we get the greatest question of all time. What is the age of the soul of man?
What is the age of the soul of man?
I mean, in 2020, infinite. Yeah. And then we get some Bloom thoughts. We've got Bloom thoughts. No longer is Leopold as he sits there ruminating, doing the cud of reminiscence. staid agent of publicity and holder of modest substance in the funds. A score of years are blown away. He is young, Leopold.
Oh boy, flashback time.
Yeah, here he is. There, as in a retrospective arrangement, a mirror within a mirror. Hey, presto.
Hey, presto.
Presto. He's beholding himself. Yep. Now we're learning more about. Oh, we've gone through the Gothic horror section. Now we're in a Bloom flashback. He's young. He's walking masculinely. He's on a nip. He's precociously manly. His book satchel is Bandler Vice. He's got.
Bandolier wise.
You're that too.
Oh, he's one of those cool guys wearing his satchel with only one strap.
Hell yeah, he is. Young Leopold Bloom drew the cool S in the notebooks. He's got his trinket wares. He's got compliment smiles for the housewives on the street. He's got his pipe for smoking and looking dapper. He's reading the newspaper. He's just thinking he's young.
Hey, presto.
Hey presto, and he's just walking, and he's walking, and he's walking.
Is there a point to this flashback?
Is there a point to anything in this book?
And then,
The point is that this is just how Bloom goes about his day.
yeah, and then young Bloom walks across a woman, who is the bride of darkness, a daughter of night, who bear not bear the sunny golden babe of day.
Edgy.
Are we talking about Marion?
No, Leopold, name and memory solace thee not. That youthful illusion of thy strength is taken from thee, and in vain. No son of thy loins is by thee. There is none now to be for Leopold what Leopold was for Rudolph. Yeah, he's having a flashback, and because the boys were talking about all the ways how a baby can go bad, Leopold flashes back to, has a sort of weird, I don't know, delusion flashback, where he sees his wife, and then he's stricken with the fact that, oh yeah, his son died young.
Yeah, at 11 days old.
11 days. So all of the lads joking and making or getting weirdly into talking about the WOMs, which the tenors get, is giving Leopold PTSD back to the death of his son, which is cool. Which is what we want in the middle of our novel. It was sandwiched between the 14th century morality play parodies and the Gothic horror parodies.
Yeah, like I was saying early in this chapter, the Bloom thoughts in this one are not fun Bloom thoughts.
No,
they're all,
he's
my
sad.
son died. I
He's
will
having
never
sad
have an
thoughts.
heir.
Yeah, his loins will remain unfulfilled. A region where gray twilight ever descends, never falls on wide sage green pasture fields, shedding her dusk, scattering a perennial dew of stars. She follows her mother with ungainly steps, a mare leading her filly foal. Twilight phantoms are they, yet molded in prophetic grace of structure, slim, shapely haunches, a supple, tendinous neck, the meek, apprehensive skull.
Why are they? What are they describing? What? What is
Look,
going on?
The voices have blended, infused, and clouded silence. I think Leopold is going like deep into his mind palace, and it's not a happy mind palace.
No.
Because the clouds are muttering of rebellion, and there's ghosts of beasts, and Parallax is stalking behind them, and the lacinating lightnings whose brows are scorpions.
Elk and yak, the bulls of Bashan and of Babylon, mammoth and mastodon, they come trooping to the sunken sea. Ominous, revengeful, zodiacal host. They moan, passing upon the clouds. Horned and capricorned, the trumpeted with the tusked, the lion maned, the giant antlered, the snouter and crawler, rodent, ruminant, and pachyderm. All their moving, moaning multitude, murderers of the sun.
Yes.
What is going on? Like, what happened
He's
to the
having a
narrative?
bad time.
He's thinking.
Look, the equine portent is growing again. The tramps are drinking. The salt is a monument in inexhaustible flood.
Fucking equine portent.
In the deserted heavens, nay, to heaven's own magnitude, loams vast over the house of Virgo.
And lo,
Yeah.
wonder of
It is she-
metempsychosis, it is she, the everlasting bride, harbinger of the day star, the bride ever virgin.
Oh my God, is this like that? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they're trying to stage like the musical.
I don't know.
There's Nightman, bringer of the night.
I don't know what's going on.
Look, how serene does she now arise, a queen among the Pleiades. He's thinking about his beautiful wife and how tragic that neither of them have a son. And there's all this sort of celestial astrological stuff.
Hold on, did someone just quote the fucking Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Sure. Yeah, James Joyce astral projected into the future and read some Chili Peppers lyrics.
Okay, so he's making a whole bunch of... Okay, wait. I figured out what's going on. Okay, the parade of the animals of the zodiac is a metaphor for the passage of time.
Oh, no, totally different lyric.
Right? That makes sense, doesn't
Okay,
it?
so we're exiting the flashback. Because Francis is reminding Stephen of years before. So we've exited the flashback. We are now outside of Bloom's head. We're back with the lads.
Thank God.
There you go, I did it. I've cracked the case. I have understood one paragraph of James Joyce's Ulysses.
Well done.
Look, now we have to talk about Piss Stratus here.
And Stephanemenos, Balak
yes,
befriending Bard.
Yes, Lord and giver of their life. And now Vincent. Trying to speed through here. Madden. Phyllis could not contain herself. She waved her scarf. Scepter wins. Juno is undone. But her lover consoled her and brought her a bright casket of gold in which lay some oval sugar plums which she partook. A tear fell. One only.
A whacking fine whip, says Lena Han, is W. Lane. 4 winners yesterday and 3 today. What rider is like him? Mount him on a camel. With a boisterous buffalo, the victory in a hack canter is still his. Remember, Lena Han was the guy that asked Bloom for advice on the horse races. So he really does just talk about nothing but, like, the horse races.
Is that what was meant by equine portent?
No.
Yes.
That might have been like
horses.
reality of Leopold's bad thoughts.
The collective unconscious has manifested into Lena Han losing the horse race.
Fellas,
Because Bloom
have
is
you ever
sad
had
while
intrusive
thinking about a
thoughts while
horse.
drinking with the boys?
Can't say I've ever really drunk with the boys, so no.
Can't say I ever had any thoughts.
If you're having thoughts while drinking with the boys, you're not drinking enough.
Yeah. Yeah, he's describing the horses. This just describes a horse race, which is basically like NASCAR but slower. Yeah, no, horse race. It's not fun to go watch horses race. Unfiltered cigarettes and reeks of divorced energy.
Big divorce energy.
Yeah. But Malachi's whispering and preserving a silence, so he might be casting a spell now. Bring back the Theosophists. Who in a previous existence, the Theosophy. It was that sort of weird, syncretic, new religious movement at the early 20th century.
I remember what it is.
Okay.
I just lost you in the text.
Haven't we all? We've all lost each other in the sauce.
What page are you on?
Oh, I'm in 764.
764.
Yeah, I'm
Damn, I
moving.
can't
I'm
keep
moving.
up.
I skipped all the shit about the horse racing because it's fucking boring.
Yeah, sure is. But
The
you know what's
horse race.
not boring? The
The
Lords of
previous
the Moon, Theosophist told me, an orange fiery shipload from planet Alpha of the lunar chain would not assume the etheric doubles, and these were therefore incarnated by the ruby-colored egos from the second constellation.
Yeah.
They're talking about aliens now.
Yeah.
Has
Yes.
this suddenly just turned into a Lovecraft story?
Yeah.
Yeah, Theosophy was wild. I looked into it a little more. The historical legacy remains mixed because, on the one hand, it introduced a lot of Eastern stuff to the West, but on the other hand, they ran it through the Wacko blender, which distorted what people thought of like the Vedas and the teachings of Buddha for like 100 years. And also like created like an esoteric base for occultism and also the Nazis because those fuckers work their way into everything.
They
They're
just
just a bunch
keep
of
coming
weird
up.
dudes. It's not a metaphor for anything at all. But as a matter of fact, though, the preposterous surmise about him being some description of a doldrums or other mesmeride, which was, full stop, entirely due to a misconception of the shallowest character, was not the case at all. The individual whose visual organs, while the above was going on, were at this juncture commencing to exhibit symptoms of animation, was as astute, if not astuter, than any man living, and anybody that conjectured the contrary would have found themselves pretty speedily in the wrong shop. Obviously.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, so, you got the base bottled at the Burton and the Trents, and then we've got an unreferred to he. The last person referred to was like paragraphs ago, so who knows? We've got ambiguous pronouns here, which I was always told was bad writing. But it turns out every rule you learned about writing was wrong if you're good enough.
Yup. Being good at writing just means knowing when and how to break the rules of writing.
Right, but eventually both their eyes meet, and it began to dawn on him that the other was endeavoring to help himself to the thing he voluntarily determined to help him himself, and so he accordingly took hold of the neck of the medium-sized glass recipient, which contained the fluid sought after, and made a capacious hole in it, pouring a lot of it out, which, with also at the same time, however, a considerable degree of attentiveness, in order to not upset any of the beer that was in it about the place.
What the fuck is this a parody of?
From what I can I don't know. This is a lot of
looking
words
through
to
the
say. He
annotations
looked
to
at
see
the
if I can
bar,
find it.
and then the bartender poured him a glass. And they were talking about debates.
All right. This is in the style of Walter Savage Landor. The
name.
form of essay, particularly associated with his name, is characterized by the title of a series of volumes that appeared 1824 to 1853, Imaginary Conversations. The conversations are between figures from classical literature and history.
Okay.
They do not attempt to recreate the historical past, but rather to use that past to develop perspectives on the social, moral, and literary problems of Landor's own time. This is fan fiction.
He's doing Socratic fan fiction.
Yeah.
Or possibly even fan fiction in the style of the dialectic, which is fun.
Oh no. Dialectical fan fiction. That's basically a podcast at that point. That's almost as bad as a podcast.
Yeah, but he's writing it down and he put all his faves in a room and had them talk over the ideas of the day, which was considered academic writing in the 1700s and now the domain of Tumblr RP blogs.
I was like just thinking that.
Great minds. Right. Now they're talking about the epitome of the course of life. The Scotsman they're making fun of the Scotsman a bit, the Scotch guy, because he's talking about his Highland garb, and Costello, and then Madden.
Yeah, they're all just roasting each other.
Yes. And that the convivial atmosphere of the Socratic discussion, while to right and left of him were accommodated the flippant prognosticator, fresh from the hippodrome, and that vigilant wanderer, soiled by the dust of travel and combat and stained by the mire of an indelible dishonor, but from whose steadfast and constant heart no lure or peril or threat or degradation could ever efface the image of that voluptuous loveliness which the inspired pencil of Lafayette has limned for ages yet to come. That paragraph is 2 sentences. I want to die.
Yeah, that's how they all fucking go.
Yeah,
It drives me crazy. There's no
they're all
time for
like
me
this.
to breathe.
In science, it cannot be too often repeated, deals with tangible phenomenon, because now they're talking about transcendentalism, which, cool, fun fact, I foolishly wrote a paper on it in high school, and all it did was hurt my brain. I tried to write a paper on Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience, which, much like this text, is sort of an elaborate literary conceit, and it's painful. So fortunately, we get to talk about, now we can skip past all that shit, because Bloom is now regarding the future determination of sex, and that must we accept the view of Empedocles of Trinantre that the right ovary, the post-menstrual period, assert the others, is responsible for the birth of males, or are the too long neglected spermatozoa or nemosperms the differentiating factors, or is it, as most embryologists incline to opine, such as list of names, a mixture of both? Now we're trying to figure out why some babies are boys and which some babies are girls.
Truly a mystery.
Before they figured out, before Watson and Crick came along and unraveled DNA, literally.
Yeah,
and,
around the
stole
time
that nice
this was
lady's
written,
research.
they were like just beginning to understand
the chromosomes.
that there were like male and female sex cells, and the whole fertilization is half of each of them to get stuck together, and so on.
Versus what we thought before, apparently, which is that boys come from the right ovary and girls come from the left.
Yeah, they were starting to pick
whether
up,
or not, or how old the nut is.
They were starting to pick up on the whole genetics thing, but they didn't understand like the biochemical basis for it. So, they were,
figured out alleles though, so they had that going for them.
Yeah, they were just speculating wildly the mechanisms behind it.
And here's a little bit of that speculation. This would be tantamount to a cooperation, one of nature's favorite devices, between the nisus formativus of the nemosperm on one hand, and on the other a happily chosen position, succubitius felix of the passive element.
What is a succubitus felix?
Not much what succubitus
it's
felix
Latin
with
for
you.
Felix the succubus.
Okay.
It's not actually. I'm trying to find it now. Also, all of those doctors that they name, actual doctors studying like the science of
how the sex
reproduction
happens.
At the time, yeah.
Okay, nisus formativus, this comes from Aristotle. So it's probably wrong, whatever they're talking about, because Aristotle is wrong about a lot of things. I just choose it to mean in which the top is on the bottom, or just a fancy way of saying tab A into slot B. Because then we immediately pivot from fun thoughts about maybe it's how the sex happens is what determines the baby, to pivoting straight to infant mortality.
Oh boy, right back there.
Yeah, and why do some babies die and other babies live? And so Joyce breaks out the fake qualifications again as this hilarious joke. Like, he refers to Mulligan as hygienist and you doctor of eugenics.
Yeah, that is so that title there is Doctor of Hygienics and Eugenics.
Yeah, which back then meant very bad things, even hygienics.
Also, hang on. So I tried to look up
Wait, what does hygienics mean to this context?
Unless I'm getting it mistaken, mental hygiene was a very early form of what we would consider mental health treatment, but
this is
it was
20s mental health treatment.
Yeah, which just meant lobotomies for everyone. So I tried to look
or
up
electroshock.
I tried to look up succubitis.
We still do electroshock therapy, but
and
yeah,
this is one of the Google results.
Please give it to me.
What the fuck?
I pulled it up here. Succubitis Felix from lyrics tagged as Donald Trump meme. What?
She sucked me.
What did he mean by this?
What did he mean?
I'm gonna click the page. I'm gonna see what the meme is. Now I'm even more confused. It's just
When I Google it, first thing that comes up is, oh, I do see that. This is just, what the fuck? Why Google?
it just says Succubitus Felix. Ulysses chapter 14, Oxen of the Sun lyrics. James Joyce.
Cool.
I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, but to get back on track, mental hygiene in the early 20th century was like mental health treatment, but in like the eugenicsy way, where like we try to make in the latter half of the 20th century.
Yeah, it was basically just dedicated to making sure the mentally unwell did not mingle or reproduce with the rest of society.
That part of it dropped around World War II, and then mental hygiene referred to a very early primitive form of CBT.
Yeah, because suddenly everyone came back with either like just big ol' hunks of the brain bludgeoned into submission. What from the artillery and whatnot,
or PTSD,
or crippling PTSD, and suddenly they were like, all right, we gotta actually figure something out with this whole mental health thing.
Yeah, it was very
because
early.
We cannot we can't resort to lobotomies when it's like
for every single soldier.
It's the entirety of our like young, healthy adult males. We gotta actually do something.
And Mr. Mulligan theorizes that young children, they get because they get infections of the adenoids.
The adenoids.
Yeah.
Adenoids.
Yeah, it's a bit in the sinus system. And it's a part of your sinuses in the back before it drains into your throat.
Yeah.
I've had mine removed.
Good riddance.
Because you don't need them.
They're like up near the tonsils.
Yeah.
Wait, is that what connects to your inner ear?
It's a
or is
flap.
that something else?
No, the adenoid is like literally a skin flap that that controls the discharge.
It's a gland. It's part of like the lymph system. Yeah. It's one of your lymph nodes, but it's up in the sinuses.
Yeah. It controls the skin flap. What controls drainage? And so because of infections of that, or again, then because they see ugly people on the street. And that's why instead of looking at nice things. Versus another guy theorizes, Mr. J. Crothers' disc back, which Bachelor of Discs, says this is because of abdominal trauma in the women workers.
That's literally Bachelor of Discourse.
That is my
Put that in your Twitter bio, yeah.
Put that in the Twitter bio. Disc back. It says, women be working too hard, and as a result, the babies are bad, or because they decided to have an abortion once, and as a result, all future babies are destroyed.
Yeah, because if you remember, when you get an abortion, that baby is going to haunt your uterus for the rest of your life.
Spooky.
So.
Oh God, that just pulled up
the science is pretty sound, really.
There was this was a meme like 12 years ago. But there was this one panel from like some semi-pornographic comic. I'm not sure if it was I'm not sure. And the panel line was, "We have to get out of here. Your womb is haunted."
That sounds like an Oglaf bit.
It wasn't an Oglaf bit. It was like, no, your vagina's haunted. No, because the thing is, it wasn't that. It was like in a run of Witchblade or something.
I don't know what that is.
It was a Marvel or a DC book. I mean, one of their imprints, but still, that a major comics publisher put that line on the page.
Haunted uterus. Haunted uterus.
Yeah. And they also theorize that the nurses are dumb. That's why.
is not completely false. Yeah.
They forgot to count the sponges when they were putting sponges up in there.
Oh, they really did. Just forget to count the sponges.
Yeah.
I thought that was a
the new
joke about
guy-
sponges just regularly being left in during surgery. No. I mean,
No.
yes, but
Yes, but no.
It happened.
it wasn't your joke, it was Joyce's.
No. Yeah, it's a Joy joke. It's a Joyce joke. A JoJo, if you.
It will, yeah. In
and then
fact,
you've got-
when one comes to look into it, it is a wonder that so many pregnancies and deliveries go off so well as they do. All things
That's a
considered.
true statement.
Yeah,
That's a true statement.
It's a miracle that any of those babies come out in any sort of working
Yeah.
condition.
And then Mr. Lynch, who I'm just going to assume is
David.
I know yeah, I'm going with David, even though I know it's not, because it gets into some David Lynch shit. He blames this on evolutionary phenomenons, the tides, the phases of the moon, the
course.
temperature of the blood, diseases in general, everything, and nature's vast workshop, to the extinction of a remote sun, the blossoming of a flower, is subject to the law of numeration as yet unascertained. So he subscribes to chaos theory.
Yeah, and the determinism of the universe.
Yes. So, which is probably an interesting argument if it wasn't here in this novel, which is supposedly written for fun and for people to read for some sort of entertainment.
So determinism's great because basically it says that, well, if you had enough information, you could predict anything about the universe. And then
Yes.
you go, okay, how? And with what information? And then they just kind of throw up their hands in shock and they're like, I don't know, not my problem.
Yes.
So while it's interesting philosophically, it's not a particularly like useful ideology in that like, well, it doesn't help you.
No, it won't affect your actual behavior. You're still like, if everything's going to go as it would, then you're just going to do what you would do. You're not going to change anything.
Yeah. If you discover if you discover the magic predicting formula, congratulations, it was predetermined that you would find it. Which is, and then determinism disappears in a puff of logic,
Poof.
and we don't have to consider it anymore.
Also, thankfully, quantum mechanics has rather shot that right through the foot.
Yeah.
Or has it?
Or
We
has
don't know.
it?
Maybe.
Let's get one of them
pretty
physics
sure it
majors
has.
on. Where's Kenneth?
Well, quantum physics is one of those things where we're not sure if it's real.
We're pretty sure it's real.
Or are we?
Within a margin of error.
With a margin of error, which is the size of the thing
I
we're
think
looking
quantum physics just puts error bars onto normal physics and
Yeah.
dusts
No,
its
not
hands off
really.
and says good enough.
That's not really what quantum physics does, but okay.
I mean, it kind of
Not-
is.
Neither
No,
of us
it
are
really
physicists.
isn't.
It says
Dave
the
seems to say
electron
what
is
he
in
thinks
this
about the baby.
orbital, give or take an orbital or two.
No, not really.
Yeah, really.
Look,
That's not
Daedalus
really
thinks
how
that
it
the
works,
babies
no.
are like this because the women be eating wrong food, because they masticate and digest apparently, and imperturbable, and it's about diet and like the behavior of the parents. But he's Daedalus, so he says this in the worst way possible, and I'm not reading through it. Because I refuse to read the phrase morbid-minded aesthete and embryo philosopher.
Okay, but
Well, you just did.
What about pluter-perfect imperturbability? I feel like we've
Imperturbability.
seen that phrase before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that has showed up before.
I
But-
seem to recall
At least Pluto
attempting
perfect.
to understand it and getting nowhere.
So we should probably just not attempt
Yeah,
to understand it this
it
time
did.
around.
It was up in like chapter 2. The Pluto perfect imperturbability of the Department of Agriculture.
It all comes back.
We've come full circle.
Right, and now Mr. Bloom steps in. He's like, I actually went to a maternity ward. This is what I saw.
How brave of you.
Which is, he's got a leg up. He actually went to the women's wing of a hospital, and when they let the cat into the bag, which is a hilarious bit.
It's a euphemism for sex.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
he describes how the doctor does their work.
Hold on, you're skipping over this fantastic bit here. He
What,
is
the rejoinder
reported
of
by
the interlocutor?
eyewitnesses as having stated that once a woman has let the cat into the bag, which was at the time a polite euphemism for sex, she must let it out again, or give it life, to save her own.
I mean, that is true in,
Yeah,
in a sense.
you
Can't
can't
just hold the
keep it
baby
in there
forever. Right. And then he just sort of describes the doctor how it facilitates the miracle of childbirth. And this is actually a quite nice chapter until paragraph. He starts talking about the universal husband.
The universal husband. Is
Yes.
that
As
like
the
the
mother breathes
universal
a silent
friend?
prayer of thanksgiving to one above, capitalized
Ah,
one, the
Jesus
universal
Christ,
husband.
the husband of all women.
I mean, this tracks. Like, you've all seen those weird Christian paintings with like Jesus like hovering over like the wife in the hospital.
Yup.
Um,
Have we? I've never seen that.
I
you
mean,
don't. Okay, you can
I've
imagine
seen the
it.
pictures.
Sure,
Yeah,
I could imagine that.
There's
but-
there's a whole series of art that's just like Jesus,
Jesus over
floating over
things.
people as they go
Yes.
about their daily lives.
I've seen that
Everyone's
sort of thing.
those,
I've never seen one of a woman in the hospital giving
Like,
birth.
not giving birth, but like
Well, have you
holding
seen
the
the one
baby.
where Jesus is like resting the hand on the surgeon?
Yes.
And then it's got the funny caption. It's like, "Damn it, Jesus, stop healing the stop healing the incision." And Jesus is like, "No, the appendix stays in." I remember that meme from the glory days of like Icon has cheeseburger meme network.
Wow.
Yeah.
The only
Alex, you
one
know
of
what I
the
took a
sort that
screenshot
I
of for some
What did
especially
you
reason?
take a
remember of
screenshot
that.
I took a screenshot of my desktop, like right as you told me that your laptop was in quality control.
Huh. Interesting.
I don't know
Yep.
why. Yeah, I was just sitting there here.
Vintage screenshots.
The only
Yeah,
one
dude,
of
these are
those
vintage as fuck.
the only one of those Jesus memes that I have any recollection of is the one everyone knows, which is Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
that came much later.
Yeah.
Did it? I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
there was like one of those paintings just of a like truck driver and like Jesus floating next to him or something.
Yeah.
Much
I-
in that
Yeah,
same
but
vein.
the popularity of the phrase "Jesus take the wheel" didn't really become commonplace until
Right.
a little later than like 2010.
Bloom continues with his life description of like looking at like the baby's infant ward, which was like new concept at the time, having a wing for infants, pioneered by a carnival sideshow act.
Yeah. Well, the specifically prenatal care,
Yes.
not prenatal care, postnatal care for
Premature babies.
premature babies.
Yeah.
They literally were like, "Look at these abominations! An affront to science and God! Babies born a month early!" And they would literally, yeah, it would be like a tent at the carnival,
Mhm.
and everyone would pay a nickel to get in, but half
Yes.
of that nickel would go to paying for like things like
Incubators.
IVs and
Nurses.
Yeah.
And the
So
guy who ran it was like
it really
some
was
guy from like Eastern
literally the
Europe.
pioneer of premature care,
Like,
funded by the freak show
circus.
audience. Yeah. Which truly a rousing success for the free market. Suck on that, commies.
Yeah, and then he sort of ends by thanking the doctor's and faithful servant as the one true Christian God, which is wild considering Leopold Bloom is Jewish. But you know what? Let's just go with it. And then he starts talking about sins for some reason. I'm just gonna skip past that because I can't fucking make heads or tails of it.
Yeah.
All
Alright, just tell me what page to skip to.
right.
Our Lady
We
of the
can- we-
Cherries?
Yeah, we can skip to 775.
770. Yeah, that's where I'm on right now.
Let's just go
Our
there.
Lady of the
'cause I think-
Cherries. Is Our Lady of the Cherries just yet another yet another name for Mary?
We will find out. Yeah, it's another version of the Madonna. specifically the Madonna. This is the Virgin Mary on fleeing to Egypt, but after the birth of Christ.
What does that have to do with cherries?
In Catholic doctrine, they rested under a cherry tree.
I got it. Right.
Yeah, or the vision was seen by a cherry tree. Like it's very silly. And so I guess he's tying. I'm not sure if it's Bloom talking at this point or just Joyce. I've kind of lost track about who the narrator is.
I never had any grasp on who the narrator was, so.
I think he's tying that between like the mothers in the ward, possibly his own wife.
All very metaphorical for something.
Yes, for the miracle of childbirth. We must mark this farther, and remember, the end comes suddenly. Enter that antechamber of birth where the studious are assembled, and note their faces. Nothing, as it seems, there are rash or violent. Quietude of custody, rather, befitting their station in that house, the vigilant watch of shepherds and of angels about a crib in Bethlehem of Judah long ago. I think he's continuing to extend this metaphor. I think this is what carries us to the end of the chapter, really.
Yeah. Speaking of the end of the chapter, it's getting pretty late. So.
Yeah.
Any other select quotes that you want to skip to?
Not particularly.
Scintillant circumambient sessile air. That's
Yes.
a mouthful.
Thou
art all their daddies, Theodore.
Yes, that was going to get to that. Thou art all their daddies, which is a great sentences of our time.
Yep.
And this metaphor just goes out for the rest of the chapter.
She is a hoary pandemonium of ills, enlarged glands, mumps, quinsy, bunions, hay fever, bed sores, ringworms, floating kidney, Derbyshire neck, warts, bilious attacks, gallstones, cold feet, varicose veins, cold feet.
Ooh.
A truce to threens and trentals and Jeremies and all such congenital defunctive music? What music?
Mm-hmm.
How saith Zarathustra?
Yep. Oh, it makes perfect sense to me. I don't know what you're talking about. And then the sort of scene ends after this extended Jesus metaphor.
Wait, I want to read some of this fantastic slang.
Oh, the Irish slang's great.
Hell blast ye! Scoot! Righto, Isaacs! Shove him out of the bleeding limelight. Yous join us, dear sir. No hentrusions in life. Lou heap, good man. Ollie same dis bunch. En avant mes enfants. Fire away, number one on the gun. Burks. Thence they advanced 5 parasayings. Slattery's mounted foot. Where's that bleeding offer? Parson Steve, apostate's creed. No, Mulligan, abaft there. Shove ahead. Keep a watch on the clock. Chucking out time. Mully, what's on you? Bishop's booze box. Heave to, Rugger. Scrum in. No touch kicking. Wow, my tootsies.
Yep.
Have an eggnog or a
ends.
prairie oyster. Enemy, avunculars got my timepiece. 10-2. Got a pectoral trauma, dicks. What is...
let's just skip to the end here, because this just sort of goes on. We've left the Jesus metaphor mostly. Now they're in full Irish slang at the time.
Gum, I'm jiggered. And Ben de Barber have he, too full for words.
Actually happening here?
No one knows.
Bants. Lads.
I'm assuming it's all more dialogue. I do know that the
Nandos.
chapter ends with the boys going off on like a drunken parade to visit the whorehouse. So
as one does.
Probably that's what's going on here.
Yeah. And they're all quite drunk. Their speech gets even more slurred. And then, and then they sort of curse God and say like, you know what, fuck Jesus, we're going whoring, and then they just sort of we're
And
putting on our coats,
away they go.
and away they go. Yeah, you'll need to rise precious early, you sinner there, if you want to diddle. Clap. Half. He's got a cough mixture with a punch in it for you, my friend, in his back pocket. Just you try it on, and then that's it. And then
Cough
done.
mixture with a punch in it means that they've just grabbed something from the pharmacist, right?
It's
I hope
full
so.
of cocaine, right?
Yeah. All right. That
did
concludes
it.
chapter
Some
14.
Cocaine and some morphine.
We've corked
What a
the fine bridges
wild
of
ride,
propositions.
and by wild
shut
ride
their
I mean miserable
obstropoluses.
slog.
Jesus.
They've nixed their hornies. They
Is next chapter better?
I
No.
don't. Next chapter is the screenplay.
it's done.
Oh, boy.
So
Are we going to take it in turns to
I
read this
think
one?
what we're gonna do is we'll just assign roles and just do a reading.
How many characters?
I haven't
Sufficient.
figured it out yet.
Alright.
We'll just, as a
Yeah.
new name comes up, we'll just hand it off to someone.
Right.
Indeed.
Any closing thoughts?
I hated this.
My brain hurts.
My brain hurts.
Oh, you're not a fan of all the blood and Prandy Pauls?
I like the Mpreg.
The skunked leg bale. The whale you in your younger gates. A guinea to a goose gog. You didn't like all that fun stuff.
Well, we skipped over all of that part. If it had been Irish slang the whole time, it might have been more fun.
Yeah. The problem is, I would have read more of it. I just didn't think saying my mildly offensive accent for like 5 pages. If anyone wants to pay me for it, oh, sure, fuck
That'll
it.
be a
Why not?
Patreon exclusive.
Start a Fiverr.
Oh, no thanks. I don't want to write to Jews on a sign. But yeah, this concludes the world's fastest recorded podcast at a lean 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours, 16 minutes? 2 hours, 17 minutes.
Oh boy.
What with the ever-relenting passage of time.
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts? Again, one more time.
If we don't hurry up, it'll be 2 hours, 18 minutes.